Toby and the Forest of Wishes. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by lush, dense woods, there lived a young boy named Toby. Toby had a big imagination and loved spending time in the forest that bordered his village. His grandmother often told him tales about the enchanted places deep within the woods, places where magic still existed. Among all these tales, the one that fascinated Toby the most was the story of the Forest of Wishes. According to his grandmother, the Forest of Wishes was a secret part of the woods where trees could hear your dreams and grant wishes if you were pure of heart. No one in the village had ever seen it, and most believed it was just a story. But to Toby, it felt real, and he longed to find it. One bright and breezy afternoon, after helping his grandmother bake her famous berry pies, Toby decided to go on an adventure. Armed with nothing but a small satchel containing some bread, an apple and a bottle of water, he headed into the forest, determined to find the Forest of Wishes. The deeper he went, the more mysterious the forest became. The light filtering through the leaves turned a soft shade of green, and the air was filled with the scent of pine and wildflowers. Birds sang sweet songs, and Toby felt as if they were guiding him along the winding path. After walking for quite some time, Toby noticed something strange. A narrow path lined with flowers he had never seen before. Their petals were silver and shimmered in the sunlight. With a deep breath, Toby decided to follow this path, his heart pounding with excitement. The path led him to a beautiful clearing. In the center stood an enormous tree, its trunk twisted and its branches stretching out like welcoming arms. The leaves of the tree sparkled as if covered in dew, and the air around it seemed to hum with magic. Toby knew without a doubt that he had found the Forest of Wishes. He approached the tree, feeling both excited and nervous. At its base was a hollow, just big enough for him to sit in. Toby remembered his grandmother's words. To make a wish, speak from your heart. He sat down in the hollow, closed his eyes and whispered, I wish to help my grandmother. I want her to be healthy and happy, and I wish to bring her something special from this magical place. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Toby heard a gentle rustling, like the sound of wind passing through leaves, even though the air was still. He opened his eyes and gasped. Standing before him was a creature unlike any he had ever seen. A deer, but with antlers made of crystal that glimmered in the light, and eyes as deep and kind as the forest itself. Greetings, young one, the deer said in a soft, melodic voice. I am Liora, the guardian of the Forest of Wishes. Your wish is pure, and the forest has heard you. Toby stood, eyes wide with wonder. Can you really help my grandmother? He asked. Liora nodded. The forest will grant your wish, but first, you must do something for us in return. The deer turned and gestured to the edge of the clearing, where a patch of wildflowers stood, their petals drooping and dull. The magic of the forest is fading in places. If you can help restore it, your wish will be granted. Toby nodded eagerly. I'll do whatever I can. Liora smiled and lowered her head. Take this, she said, and with a gentle shake of her antlers, a small crystal shard fell to the ground. It shimmered with a soft inner light. Use this crystal to touch each flower, and it will restore the magic. Toby took the crystal shard, feeling its warmth in his hand, and walked over to the patch of wilting wildflowers. He knelt down and gently touched the first flower with the crystal. As soon as he did, the flower glowed and stood tall, its petals brightening to a brilliant shade of blue. Toby smiled, his heart swelling with joy, and continued to touch each flower in turn until the entire patch was blooming vibrantly. When he was finished, Liora approached him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "You have done well, young one. The forest thanks you, and so do I. Your wish will be granted." With a graceful nod of her head, Liora touched her antlers to the ground, and a small pouch appeared before Toby. He picked it up and opened it to find a collection of sparkling berries, unlike any he had ever seen, each one glowing softly in a different color. "These are the berries of joy," Liora explained. "Give them to your grandmother, and they will bring her health and happiness." Toby felt tears prick his eyes. "Thank you, Liora. Thank you so much." The deer nodded. "Remember, young one, the magic of the forest is always here, as long as there are those who believe in it and care for it." With that, Liora turned and disappeared into the trees, her form blending with the dappled light until she was gone. Toby made his way back through the forest, the pouch of berries clutched tightly in his hand. The path of silver flowers led him back to the familiar woods, and soon he could see the rooftops of his village peeking through the trees. When he arrived home, his grandmother was sitting on the porch, her face lighting up when she saw him. "Toby, my dear, I was starting to worry. Where have you been?" Toby ran up to her, his face flushed with excitement. "Grandma, I found it! I found the Forest of Wishes!" He opened the pouch and showed her the glowing berries. "These are for you. They're called berries of joy, and they're going to make you feel better." His grandmother looked at the berries, her eyes widening with wonder. "Oh, Toby," she whispered, tears welling up. "They're beautiful." She took one of the berries and ate it, her eyes closing as a smile spread across her face. Almost instantly, she seemed to sit up a little straighter, her face glowing with warmth and happiness. "I feel wonderful," she said, her voice full of emotion. "Thank you, my dear boy. You truly have brought magic into my life." Toby hugged his grandmother tightly, his heart full. He knew that the Forest of Wishes was real, and that its magic was something that could be felt by anyone who believed. And as he sat with his grandmother, watching the sunset over the village, he felt a deep sense of peace, knowing that he had helped bring a little bit of magic back into the world. From that day on, Toby often returned to the forest, not to make wishes for himself, but to help care for the magical clearing and ensure that its magic would never fade. And though most people in the village still thought the Forest of Wishes was just a story, Toby knew better. He knew that magic was real, and it was waiting just beyond the trees, ready to be found by those brave enough to seek it.